Alrighty, so today we'll be going over fractions. So today is the 3rd of September. For your topic, it's going to be fractions. Page number will be page number 2. So we're going to go ahead and open up to our second page. Number the page, put your topic at the top. Again, we're going over fractions. Alrighty, so first things first, all I want to say is this. I do not like proper fractions. So please keep your fractions in improper form. From here on out, pretty much for the rest of math, you will not see another proper fraction. Using improper fractions will save you time, it'll save you stress. It's what they use from pretty much here on out. I took I took all the way up to like Calc 3, linear algebra, differential equations, pretty high level math in college, and we never used proper fractions. Okay, so I haven't seen a proper fraction probably since I was in 6th or 7th grade. Pretty much from here on out, we'll be using improper fractions. So please, when I ask you to simplify it, do not put it into proper form. Keep it in improper form. With that being said, we're going over fractions just as a review, and we're going to learn how to work in different operations, and I'm going to give you some steps on that. So again, hopefully this is just review. So first off, we're going to work with addition and subtraction. The great thing about addition and subtraction is they both work under the same steps. So they have the same steps to solve when you're working with fractions. So step number 1 will be find a common denominator. So if your fraction does not already have a common denominator, then you need to find one and convert your fractions over so that they both have a common denominator. Step number 2, once you have found a common denominator and converted over your fractions, you will add or subtract, depending on what the operation is, the numerators. Remember, the denominators stay the same. So numerators go on top, denominators are on the bottoms. Don't forget that. Numerators on the top of the fraction, denominator is on the bottom of the fraction. Step number 3. Will be to simplify. To me, this is the most important step because this is a step you will use in every single operation. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, whatever you do. You will always simplify the fraction if it can be simplified. So let's work out some examples. So first off, we'll have 3/4 plus 12/4. So step 1, they both have a common denominator. Great, I don't have to do anything now. I can move on to step 2. Step 2, add the numerators. So we're going to take 3 and add it to 12. Well, 3 plus 12 is going to be 15. My denominator stays the same. I don't do anything with those. It stays 4. So then my answer, 15 over 4. Now, I need to simplify that. Well, I can't. 4 does not go into 15 evenly, right? And there are no common factors between 15 and 4. So therefore, 15 over 4 is my simplified answer. And again, keep it in improper form. Do not convert it over to proper. But you do need to realize that it's not that 4 can go into 15, right? So this is technically 3 and 3/4. It's the same thing, but please just keep it in proper form. So let's do another one. So let's do 3/4 plus 12/4. So let's do 3/4 plus 26 over 8. So they do not have a common denominator, so I have to find one. So I need to find a common denominator between 4 and 8. So if I keep going through, okay, so I have 4, okay, I have 8. Well, 8 can go into 8, right? Awesome. So then all I'm going to do, I need to convert this over to where my denominator is 8. So to go from 4 to 8, I need to multiply it by 2. Whatever I multiply the denominator by, I need to also multiply the numerator. So since I've multiplied the bottom by 2, I need to multiply the top by 2 as well. So now, instead of 3 over 4, I'm going to have 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8. I do not need to do anything to this fraction, right? Technically, yes, I can multiply it by 1 on top and bottom, but I'm still going to get the same fraction. Now I can just add the numerator. So 6 plus 26 would be 32. On the bottom I'm going to have 8. Then from here I need to simplify. 32 divided by 8, because remember the fraction sign means divide. 32 divided by 8, that can simplify to 4. So let's do another one. So I'm going to do subtraction. So let's do 64 over 3 minus 72 over 8. First step, common denominator. They're not the same, so I need to find one. Well, here's an easy thing. If you cannot figure out one that works, if you're struggling, like, man, I really just don't know, you can always multiply the two denominators. If you multiply 3 by 8, then you will find a common denominator. So we're going to multiply 3 times 8. What I do to the bottom, I must also do to the top. And over here, so that's going to end up being 64 times 8 is 512. 8 times 3 is 24. We're still subtracting. And then to go from 8 to 24, I multiply it by 3. What I do to the bottom, I must also do to the top. 8 times 3 is 24. And then on the top, I'm going to have 216. Now, I can have the same, they both have the same denominator. Awesome. Now I can subtract the numerators. 512 minus 216 is 296. And then the bottom will stay the same. So 296 over 24. Now here, I need to simplify. Now I can simplify. Now I can try to find the greatest common factor. But there's a lot of numbers that can go into 296. A lot. So rather than trying to figure out every single number that 296 can be factored by, be divided by, I can notice the top number is an even number. The bottom number is also an even number. So let's save myself a little bit of brain power. They're both even. I can just cut them in half, or I can divide them by 2. Great. If I do that, I get 148 over 12. Well, I can still simplify that because they're still both even numbers. And since they're still both even numbers, I can still divide them by 2 again. 148 divided by 2 is 74. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, I'm still not done. Why? Because they're still both even numbers. So I can still divide them by 2 again. Well, 74 divided by 2 is 37. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Alright, so now let's look at that. The only thing I can divide 3 by is either by 1 or 3. And 3 does not evenly go into 37. Okay, the closest I can get is 36, which would be 3 times 12. Or I can get 39, which would be 3 times 13. Neither one of those will work. So I cannot simplify this any further, and therefore my answer is 37 over 3, or 37 thirds. So I can save myself, if I have big numbers like this that are hard to find factors for, I can save myself some time if I recognize that they're both even numbers and I can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. Now let's move on to the next one. We have multiplication. Okay, multiplying fractions is easy. Okay, step 1. You're going to take the top and multiply it by the top. Or take the numerator and multiply it by the numerator. And then you're going to take the bottom and multiply it by the bottom. Or take the denominator and multiply it by the denominator. Step number 2 will be to simplify. So we will always simplify fractions. So let's do some examples. I have 2/4 times 7/8. Well, this is easy, guys. I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to multiply it by 7. Top times the top. And I'm going to take 4 and multiply it by 8. Bottom times the bottom. Well, 2 times 7 is 14. 4 times 8 is 32. Hey, look here. I can do something here. They're both even, right? So I can simplify this answer. That's not my most simplified answer. I can simplify this over here. Well, let's think of some factors of 14. Alright, so numbers that can multiply into 14. Okay, well we have 1 times 14. We have 2 times 7. We'll have 7 times 2, or 14 times 1. So my factors are 1, 2, 7, and 14, because I can take 1 times 14, or 14 times 1, and 2 times 7, or 7 times 2. Let's think of some factors down here for 32. I have 1 times 32. I have 2 times 16. Can 3 go into 32? No. 4 can. I have 4 times 8. 5 cannot. 6 cannot. 7 cannot. 8 can. I have 4 times 8. 9 cannot. 10 doesn't go into 32. Neither does 11, 12. Next number is going to be 16. And then the last number would be 32. So I have 1 times 32, or 32 times 1. 2 times 16, or 16 times 2. And 4 times 8, or 8 times 4. So now we're going to look at the numbers up here. Okay, ignoring 1. We're not worried about 1. We're going to try to find the greatest common factor between 14 and 32. Okay, well they both have 2 in common. Great. Do you see any 7s down here? No, so 7 is not a factor. Do you see any 14s down here? No, so 14 is not a common factor. Okay, there's no 4s top, 8s, 16s, or 32s on top. So the greatest common factor between 14 and 32 would be 2. So then I'm going to divide both numbers by 2. And my answer is going to be 7 over 16. And that is my simplified answer. So that is how we find the greatest common factor between the numerator and the denominator. So let's move on to the next operation. So next operation is going to be division. Okay, so I'm about to use some big words here. Step 1, you are going to multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. Now to put that in simple terms, reciprocal means flip, right? So whatever I have on top will move to the on bottom, whatever I have on bottom will move to the top. So all reciprocal means is flip. Divisor means the number that you are dividing by, or the fraction you're dividing by. So that would be the fraction that's the second fraction. So for example, just simplifying this. what this really means is flip the second fraction and multiply. Flip the second fraction and multiply. That's all that means. You need to know what reciprocal means because they'll use it a lot in high school and algebra. You need to know what divisor means because they'll use it a lot. So know what these words mean. But all this means is flipping the fraction. So top goes to bottom, bottom goes to top, and divisor is the second number or the second fraction. It's what you divide by. So let's do an example. 7/8 divided by 6/7. So we're going to flip the second fraction. So this fraction right here is what we would call the divisor. It's the second fraction. It's what we're dividing by. We are going to flip it top to bottom, bottom to top. And we're going to change the division to multiplication. So this is what it's going to turn into. It's going to turn into 7/8 times, instead of 6/7, it's going to be 7/6. And then all we need to do here, guys, is follow multiplication rules. Oh, before I get too far, I forgot step number 2. Step 2 is going to be simplify. We always simplify. So all we do here now is we're going to follow multiplication. 7 times 7. So we have 7 times 7, top times top, bottom times bottom, 8 times 6. So that would be 49 over 48. We cannot simplify any further. 49 and 48 do not have any common factors. Therefore, that is my answer. I'm going to do one more for y'all, and then we're done. Let's do 4/8 divided by 3/4. This one on the bottom right here, this is my divisor. So I need to flip the second fraction and multiply. So we're going to change this into 4/8 times, instead of 3/4, it'd be 4/3. So top times top would be 16. 8 times 3 is 24. Bottom times bottom. Top times top. Bottom times bottom. 4 times 4 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. From here, I can simplify this. So I need to find what the greatest common factor is. I could probably just divide by 2 and divide by 2 and so on and so forth so I get the answer. But these numbers are small enough, I should be able to find the greatest common factor. So let's think of numbers that can go into 16. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 1 times 16, 2 times 8. We have 4 times 4, 8 times 2, and 16 times 1. Those are the factors of 16. Let's go to 24 now. We have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 6 and 4. Man, that's a lot of numbers. So no 5, so 6 and 4, 8 times 3, 12 times 2, and 24 times 1. So let's look for common numbers. So we have 1 and 1. Okay, we have 2 and 2. 3 is not. We have 4 and 4. 6 is not. We have 8 and 8. 16, 12, and 24 are not. So my greatest common factor, the largest number I can divide by, would be 8. So that's what we're going to go with, is 8. So I'm going to divide the top by 8, divide the bottom by 8, and I will end up getting 2/3 as my final answer. And that is it for today.